We have just received confirmation that two commercial airliners have struck both towers of the World Trade Center in what appears to be a coordinated terrorism. We are getting reports that a plane has struck the World Trade Center.
It began like any other morning in America. September 11, 2001, a clear blue Tuesday. The kind of morning where the air felt crisp, the skies were calm, and millions of people went to work believing it would be an ordinary day. But within just a few hours, everything changed. In New York City, the streets were already busy. Thousands of workers were arriving at the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center, two massive skyscrapers that symbolized America's strength and ambition. At 8:46 a.m., that peace was shattered. American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 767 carrying 92 people, struck the North Tower. The explosion echoed through Lower Manhattan. People looked up in disbelief. At first, everyone thought it was a tragic accident, a plane gone off course, maybe a mechanical failure. But just 17 minutes later, the unthinkable happened again. At 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 slammed into the South Tower. This was no accident. America was under attack. As the world watched live on television, the horror unfolded. Flames engulfed both towers. People trapped inside waved for help from shattered windows. Some, faced with impossible choices, jumped to escape the inferno. Firefighters and police officers raced toward the chaos, running up stairwells that thousands were fleeing down. They knew the risk. They went anyway. By 9:37 a.m., another plane, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. military in Washington, D.C. The impact tore through one side of the building, killing 125 people inside and everyone on board. And then came the final act of that morning's terror. At 10:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 93 went down in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Its passengers had learned from phone calls what had happened to the other planes. They fought back. Their struggle forced the hijackers to crash the plane before it could reach its intended target, believed to be either the White House or the U.S. Capitol. Those passengers became heroes, ordinary people who, in their final moments, saved countless lives. Back in New York, the unimaginable was about to happen. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower, burning and weakened by the impact, began to collapse. The massive structure fell in seconds, sending a thunderous cloud of smoke and dust through the streets. People screamed and ran as the city disappeared under gray. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower collapsed too. In just over 100 minutes, both towers, once symbols of human progress, were gone. Almost 3,000 people were killed that day. Firefighters, office workers, airline passengers, police officers, parents, and children, from over 90 countries. The images seared into memory. The towers falling, the people covered in ash, the flags at half-mast. It was a day that stopped time. In the hours that followed, confusion turned to grief, and then to anger. Airports were shut down. The skies above America were silent for the first time in history. President George W. Bush, who was in Florida when the attacks began, addressed the nation that evening. He promised justice. And the world watched as the United States prepared to respond. Within weeks, intelligence agencies identified the attackers as members of Al-Qaeda, a terrorist group led by Osama bin Laden, who was operating out of Afghanistan. On October 7, 2001, the U.S. launched Operation Enduring Freedom, a military campaign to dismantle Al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban from power. The war on terror had begun. Meanwhile, the recovery efforts at Ground Zero continued for months. Firefighters and volunteers sifted through the wreckage, searching for survivors, and later, remains. The site became a place of mourning, of courage, and of unity. People from across the world sent letters, flowers, and prayers. America, wounded but not broken, stood together. Years passed. The world changed. Airports adopted new security systems. Surveillance expanded. Wars stretched across Afghanistan and later Iraq. And slowly, the skyline of New York began to rise again. In the same spot where the Twin Towers once stood, a new symbol emerged, One World Trade Center, also known as the Freedom Tower. It became the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, a statement that even after tragedy, hope can rebuild. But the pain never fully left. Families of victims still visit the 9/11 Memorial, two enormous reflecting pools where the towers once stood. Every name of every victim is engraved in bronze. On quiet mornings, visitors run their fingers across those names, remembering the lives behind them. On May 2, 2011, a team of U.S. Navy SEALs located and killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. For many, it was a moment of closure, a decade-long chapter ending where it began. But even that couldn't erase the loss of that day. 9/11 changed everything. It reshaped geopolitics, redefined security, and altered how the world saw itself. It reminded humanity that even the mightiest nations are vulnerable, and that courage can rise in the darkest moments. From firefighters who climbed those stairs, to passengers who fought back in the sky, to strangers who helped one another through the dust, their stories live on. 2 decades later, the scars remain, but so does the spirit of those who endured. Every September 11th, the world pauses. Bells ring. Names are read. And for a moment, time stands still again, not just in memory of tragedy, but in honor of resilience. Because 9/11 wasn't only the day the world fell apart. It was also the day countless acts of heroism showed what humanity could be. A day when fear met courage. And courage refused to fall.